All right, without further ado, let's now turn our attention to the class of 2026. And this was a tough one, guys, because we made a big switch in number one in January. And Tyron Stokes was the reigning number one, but we liked what we saw from Brandon McCoy, and we elected to make that switch. So, Boss, I'm going to go to you first here. Tell us who the number one player is in the rising junior class right now and why.
Tyron Stokes has reclaimed the number one spot in the class of 2026. And when we all sat down and discussed it, it boiled down to it's not a case of McCoy losing it or us having any less belief in McCoy. It's a matter that Tyron went out and the way that he played, it was just hard to sit there and look and say, you know what? How do we justify not making him the top ranked player right now? He's been so physically dominant. His skills have really come around. And he's a guy that's, become one of the most feared players in high school basketball, regardless of class. And, pretty much any gym he walks into, he's the baddest dude on the floor, and he's the one guy that people can't stop. So based on his performance this spring, we really felt that we couldn't deny him the number one spot at this point.
And I want to give him credit in three main areas that I think we've seen significant growth in. I think his approach, we've seen some maturation for him in recent months. He's competing. I think he's in the best shape of his life. He's so powerful. He's so strong, but he looks quicker, more explosive to me than ever before. And I think his shooting has really progressed as well. So those three areas to me, I think we've seen significant growth in recent months. So that is a tribute to him and the people around him. But Boss, you said it here. This is not a knock or a criticism on Brandon McCoy, who retains the number two ranking in that class. And Trav, you have been a fan of McCoy, and here are the updated top 10 in the national class of 2026. Tyron Stokes is number one, Brandon McCoy number two, Caleb Holt number three, Elijah Arenas, who's now almost 6'6", number four, Jason Crow number five, Taj Ariza 6, Mustafa Diop 7, Jordan Smith 8, Caleb Gaskins 9, and Ikenna Alozie is at 10. We're going to talk about some of those guys in just a minute. But Trav, I want to ask you about Brandon McCoy, because this is someone who I think we can't emphasize this enough. The narrative should not, and cannot be about him falling, because he's doing nothing but trending in the right direction. Tell me what you like about Brandon McCoy, or what people at home need to know about this talented young guard.
Yeah, he's got tremendous positional size, standing roughly 6'4". He's really long. And as you can see on the screen, he's a really impressive athlete, and he's very functional in that athleticism on both ends of the floor. There's a lot of times we see these athletes come through high school. You see them exploding in layup lines and putting up stuff on the highlight reels in transition. But this is a kid that can operate in traffic, get to his spots, elevate in traffic. And what's always stood out to me about him is how he plays on both sides of the basketball. There's so many times where some of the biggest highlights in a game out of Brandon McCoy aren't offense, but it's the stuff he's doing on defense, coming off the help side, blocking shots at the rim, or elevating in traffic and just snatching rebounds before pushing the break. So it's the ability that he has to play on both sides, the instincts that he shows, and the creativity, both as a playmaker and as a scorer, as well as just the maturity he plays with. You never go out there and you watch Brandon McCoy and be like, man, he was just out there, I would say, hunting shots for himself. Like, he was just out there looking to make a highlight reel for himself. You never come away thinking he was playing selfish basketball. He plays the right way. And when you add in all the talent and the productivity he continues to show on every single setting, whether it be high school, AAU, or at USA basketball, he just brings it every time. And like you said, Tyron Stokes, he just flat out went out and won this number one spot, while Brandon McCoy has done nothing wrong but just continue to compete.
Another thing to note, Tyron Stokes, Brandon McCoy, AJ Debonsa, Cam Boozer, they are all in Colorado Springs right now at the Olympic and Paralympic training facility, trying out for the USA Basketball 17 and under team. I think all four of those guys are probably locks, not because it's political, just because they're better than everybody else, quite frankly. And they will travel to Turkey for the FIBA World Cup. And that is a setting that I'm really interested in watching, seeing all these guys in the same team. They've been absolutely dominant over the years. It's going to be a fun one to follow. All right, guys, now I want to shift the attention, because we've talked a lot about Stokes and McCoy, but I want to talk about the other players in this class that people need to know. One of those was also in Colorado this past week. Bassi, you and I saw him And I was blown away, as I know you were, by Taj Ariza.
Yeah, Taj is a guy that I have been talking up since I very first saw him before his freshman season in high school started. For those who don't know, if the last name sounds familiar, yes, he is the son of longtime NBA player and former UCLA Bruin Trevor Ariza. He's a wing that in his bare feet is just over 6'7". He's got that 7-foot wingspan. He can really, really handle the ball. He's got a gorgeous looking jump shot. And the thing about Taj is he just moves differently than other guys out there. When you go out there and watch them, he's immediately going to catch your eyes as like, wow, that guy looks and moves like a pro. Like there's just something different about him. And he's always had the ability, and he's always given it to us in flashes, and there's still room for him to be much more consistent. But these last couple of months, and especially at USA Basketball these past few days, he's just turned it up to another level. He's become a confident jump shooter. He makes really good reads as a ball handler. He's just so versatile and so fluid with his size that he's a guy who has moved up to number 6. We already had him in the top 10, but if he continues on the trend that he's on, he is a guy that can compete for not only the top 5, which he's knocking on the door of, but maybe even the top 3 of this class. And he can put himself in that discussion with Tyron Stokes and Brandon McCoy. He's got that much ability. When that guy plays with confidence, he is something different to deal with.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. And again, people who followed us at home know that you guys watch the underclassmen more than I do. So I don't have the same context. But just on the surface this week, I thought his upside was no less glaring than some of those other guys. So as you said, he's inside the top 10 now. But just like Nate Ament, Chris Senek in the rising senior class, I think Taj Ariza is someone in this rising junior class who could continue to move up if he keeps progressing along those same lines. All right, Trav, who is the rising junior in this class that you want to bring attention to as someone who is likely to make a bigger name for himself in the weeks and months to come?
Yeah, I have to give credit to Bossy here. He just apparently is a magnet for talented 6'7" wings. And this one is Anthony Thompson, plays for the Indiana Elite under 16 team. Again, 6'7" wing, lefty with a smooth stroke from 3, able to make shots both off the catch and pull, is showing some creativity as a scorer to create from mid-range, get to the rim. And so this is a guy that we are just now starting to become more and more familiar with. So you never want to be too aggressive when it comes to a debut in the rankings. While he is coming in as a top 15 recruit, we are going to be keeping a very close eye on him moving forward because, like Taj Ariza, I don't think Anthony Thompson is done climbing these rankings yet. So again, impressive talent, and credit to Eric Bossy here for going out and finding another big-time player in 2026.
All right, one player that I want to bring attention to is already ranked inside the top 5, and that's Jason Crow. This guy is as skilled with the basketball as anyone I have seen thus far in the class. He, too, was in Colorado this past week, and the totality of his skill set was on full display. He's already put up huge high school numbers at a stage where most guys his age aren't even on varsity. But his handle is just super tight. His shot making is off the charts. And his ability to get to his spots, even among players who are a little more naturally explosive, was second to none. There were some moments this week where you thought he was caught in a tough spot. He was running a pick and roll. The pick and roll gets trapped, and all of a sudden he whips the ball behind his back and through his legs, splits the pick and roll, and now he's got a 4-on-3 going the other way. So this is certainly one of the best guards in the class and someone that fans are going to want to familiarize themselves with going into the second half of his high school career.